From ABC, this is World News Tonight. From our desk in Washington, Frank Reynolds.
Good evening. The Soviet Union today sharply escalated its anti-American rhetoric. A long article in Pravda, the official Communist Party newspaper, charged the crisis in Poland is the result of a plot by the United States to, quote, tear Poland away from the socialist community. And in what is considered a clear warning that Soviet military intervention is still possible, Pravda compared Poland in 1981 to Hungary in 1956 and Czechoslovakia in 1968, and said the Americans should be reminded that such ventures have been repulsed more than once. Now for the latest on Poland today, here is Mike Lee, who has been monitoring Polish broadcasts in London.
Military-controlled Warsaw television tonight did its best to put a cheerful face on this Polish Christmas Day with scenes of snowbound tranquility and even downhill skiing. But there were un-Christmas-like pictures of Polish military air radar controllers, an unsubtle reminder that martial law is still in force at all levels. The official newscast told the Polish nation that fresh coal has arrived at a big Warsaw electricity plant to keep it going, and that the big steelworks at Katowice are back in production again. As for the recent trouble spots in the Silesia coal mines, Warsaw TV tonight said the pits at Zibowit have been abandoned by striking workers. And to drive home claims that solidarity is the root of the trouble here, these films were shown tonight, said to be taken 2 days ago when women were pleading with their husbands to stop their occupation at Zibowit. "Come home, my darling. I cannot bear it any longer," said one of the weeping women. As dozens of professional and amateur radio monitoring services continue to scan the airwaves for official and unofficial news out of Poland, Warsaw Radio today was heard to say that more than 1,000 miners are still holding out beneath the surface at the Piast mines. And ABC News tonight spoke with a British amateur CB radio operator who reports speaking with a man who describes himself as a striking miner.
We are in trouble here. We want the Pope to help us. Many strikers here. Conditions are very, very poor. And then he carried on to say that the telephone lines have all been cut and his CB set was the only means of communication with the outside world.
Throughout Europe, there's been an outpouring of emotion, sympathy, and homesickness among Poles who are not at home tonight. In Vienna, a midnight mass and a solidarity support rally. And at a refugee center in West Germany, Poles prayed. Their children received gifts and sang, and Christmas Day passed without peace. Mike Lee, ABC News, London.
This is Barry Dunsmore in Washington. Since martial law went into effect in Poland, more than 100 Polish sailors have defected in various parts of the world, including 6 in Kodiak, Alaska, last night. Officials here today say there was no new policy to deal with Poles seeking political asylum in the United States. However, it's noted that when an ambassador defects, as 2 Polish ambassadors have in the past week, the matter is handled expeditiously at a high level. The Polish ambassador to Japan, Zdzisław Rurosz, and his family were whisked away by the FBI when they landed at Dulles Airport near Washington last night. Ambassador Rurosz, who defected 2 days ago in Tokyo, is resting at a safe house in the area today. At the moment, there are no plans for him to visit the White House, as did the other defecting Polish ambassador, Romuald Spasowski. But obviously, in addition to the humanitarian aspects of granting political asylum to ranking Polish officials, there is a positive propaganda effect. Until now, there is not a major Polish refugee problem, but it's understood there are thousands of Poles who were out of their country at the time of the crackdown. Many of them are in this country, and refugee experts here believe many of them are not going to want to go back. Barry Dunsmore, ABC News, the State Department.
Our correspondent in Warsaw, Jerry King, has a report tonight on Christmas in Poland, but as has been the case since martial law was imposed there, his report, along with all others coming from inside Poland, had to be approved by communist censors before being sent out.
Christmas in Poland never was the gaudy commercial exercise it is in the West. This year, it is even less so. Store windows decorated before the declaration of the state of war here now seem sadly out of place. It is not a time for families split up by a travel ban within Poland and across Poland's borders. In any case, there's a ban on the sale of gasoline for private cars, and friends are more than just a phone call away. Most communication lines are cut. The government acknowledges all does not go smoothly here. Every day now, the Polish news agency reports a gradual return to normal life. The military has been given the tremendous responsibility of restoring order and discipline. That has added to the hardship this Christmas time, since they too may be unable to spend much time with their families at this holiday period. And what of Warsaw's foreign community? Their movements too have been restricted. The sidewalks in front of most embassies have been blocked off to passers-by. Foreigners wishing to enter an embassy must await long identity checks. Several American families have chosen to spend Christmas in Poland this year. Non-diplomats working here have been told they can use their multiple entry visas to leave and return. Some, among them teachers in the American school and journalists, have decided not to test the system. This Christmas program at the American school was recorded 2 weeks ago. The song by the first grade has become especially poignant. Jerry King, ABC News, Warsaw.
This is Bill Blakemore in Vatican City. A number of churchmen here are questioning the amount of visible Polish politics which John Paul has encouraged recently in St. Peter's. There was more of it at today's traditional Christmas greetings.
È giunto al suo meriggio.
With words carefully aimed at a number of countries, John Paul made freedom of religion his main theme. In words analysts here say are aimed at the officially atheist Soviet Union, John Paul said, "The world that does not accept God ceases to be hospitable to people. In the name of economic, imperialistic, and strategic interests, it drives whole multitudes of people from their work, locks them up in concentration camps." Then the Pope, famous for his languages, addressed the world in some 40 of them.
May the light that came into the world on this blessed day shine in your hearts and in your homes always.
Bulgarian, Chinese, Albanian, Ethiopian, Spanish.
Di espressione polacca.
When he announced Polish last, the crowd cheered extra long. And with his own language, he again took extra time.
Reprezentanci Solidarności.
I greet the many of you here representing solidarity, he said. And to each and every one in Poland, I especially want to reach those suffering, taken from their dear ones, in depression or desperation. Many in the world are praying for you. Bill Blakemore, ABC News in Vatican City.
The United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Jeane Kirkpatrick, is quoted today as saying the Reagan administration is considering asking the UN to take up the imposition of martial law in Poland. Ambassador Kirkpatrick will be the guest this Sunday on the ABC News broadcast This Week with David Brinkley. Later in this broadcast, in addition to other news, the story of an obscure American fish and the Russian appetite for fine caviar, and on this Christmas Day, a brief but beautiful Christmas concert.
ABC's World News Tonight, brought to you by Michelob Light.
American intelligence officials are now said to believe that the assassination squad sent to this country by Libya may have suspended their efforts to murder high American officials, at least for now. But that does not mean the extremely tight security around the president and others has been relaxed in any way. Paul Howes has more on this story.
Sources tell ABC News that this purported member of a Libyan-trained hit team, Ahmad Juma, a weapons expert earlier identified from composite sketches, was in the Phoenix area for 4 days during the first week in December. But by the time investigators learned of Juma's presence in the area, he had vanished. Investigators believe that publicity about the plot forced him to leave the country by way of Canada. Reports of Juma's presence only heightened the extraordinary security surrounding the president, brought about by the initial reports of assassination plots. Tight security continues. Last night, when the Reagans went to a private Christmas Eve party, they were accompanied by a 12-car motorcade, a decoy limousine, SWAT and dog teams, and an array of security agents, all for a trip that covered 15 blocks in 3.5 minutes door to door. Paul Howes, ABC News, Washington.
Fire broke out on a Canadian oil tanker in the St. Lawrence Seaway last night. At least 3 of the 21 crewmen aboard were killed, and 5 others are missing. The Canadian Coast Guard says the tanker is still burning, and there is a danger it could explode. This is a day when, to think of food, for most Americans, it is turkey that comes to mind. And particularly in a time of recession, very few people are probably worrying about where their next plate of caviar will come from. However, therein lies a fish story. And correspondent Jack Smith has caught it and now tells it.
I'd certainly want to have a congressional committee hearing It's a fishy deal, and it looks pretty scaly to me and all of that.
It's clearly a funny story.
What's funny, fishy, and has these congressmen flummoxed is this, the paddlefish, an obscure, odd-looking Native American freshwater fish that swims in the murky rivers of the Mississippi Valley, feeds on algae, and is generally valued for its flesh and nothing more. Only a few U.S. fishermen and a handful of knowledgeable biologists know it has a far greater value. The American paddlefish is second only to the Russian sturgeon as a source of high-grade caviar. In fact, some experts cannot distinguish between Russian caviar and paddlefish eggs. Americans may not know this, but the Russians do. In the Soviet Union, caviar is a serious business. Not only does it have irreplaceable sentimental value, rather like apple pie in the U.S., but caviar exports also generate foreign currency, and it's foreign currency that helps sustain the machinery and the might of the Soviet state. In the 1970s, disaster struck the Russian sturgeon. They began dying from pollution. As the Soviet caviar industry went into a nosedive, Soviet scientists suddenly developed an interest in the American paddlefish that turned out to be a bit more than just scientific. In 1974, Moscow asked Washington for a few samples of the fish. Not suspecting anything, Washington told the Missouri Department of Conservation to fill the order free of charge under a U.S.-Soviet agreement on scientific cooperation.
At the time, we were on very friendly relations with Russia, as I remember it, and I looked at it as an exchange between scientific communities.
That was until Soviet scientists had a chance to examine their samples, gauge their potential, and 2 years later to place a huge order for 300,000 more paddlefish, which were shipped off again free of charge.
This would not only give those people something to do for research, but they would establish them a fairly good population of fish.
A population the Soviets themselves acknowledge they are now exploiting for caviar, which they will eventually sell right back to us. In a few years, when the Russians are in a position to start marketing their paddlefish caviar, Americans may have to pay up to $40 an ounce to sample something this country once gave the Russians for free.
I'm not outraged, but I think that it shows how we suffer from a lack of coordination.
I think that all of us who are truly needy, like congressmen and ordinary Americans, ought to boycott, at least for the Christmas season. We can boycott any purchase of caviar for now.
The only one who fails to see humor in any of this is the paddlefish, but that's quite understandable, since it would probably rather not be on anyone's menu, Russian or American. Jack Smith, ABC News, Washington.
The White House tonight released this photograph of the first family posing in front of their Christmas tree. The president had no official appointments today. It was also disclosed today that the president and Mrs. Reagan did not give each other a big Christmas gift. Just why this information was vouchsafed is not clear, but apparently they plan to save their major gift giving for their 30th wedding anniversary next March. Well, anyway, all this is by way of leading up to our Christmas gift to you. The American Boy Choir of Princeton, New Jersey, in a concert recently at Trinity Episcopal Cathedral in Trenton. The director is Donald Hanson. So now, on this Christmas night, hear the angels sing. Once again, tonight's top story. The Russians today accused the United States of responsibility for the crisis in Poland and said this country is plotting to tear Poland away from the socialist community. They also strongly hinted they may yet intervene militarily in Poland. There will be more about the Polish situation and special reports on religion today in the Soviet Union and China later tonight on Nightline. That's our report for now on World News Tonight. Peter Jennings and Max Robinson, who have had the good sense not to work on this holiday, join me in wishing you a very Merry Christmas, as indeed do all of us at ABC News, some of whose names we are going to show you now. This is Frank Reynolds. Good night from Washington.